Hi, welcome everybody. My name is Ben Gabriel. Welcome to our Evaluating Your Client List webinar. And with me is Marcus Dillon. Marcus, how you doing?
Hey, did you almost mispronounce your own name?
What did I say?
You almost said, I thought it was going to come out as Bill Gabriel, and thought we were up to something new. And if we're picking new names, hey, might as well. But if you're sticking with Ben, I'll stick with Marcus.
All right. Yeah, I'll have to go back and watch the recording on that one. So sometimes you just like to keep it fresh, test something out, see how it goes.
It's going to be one of those days, man. We're going to have a lot of fun. So,
All
uh,
right.
Marcus Dillon, here to be here with you. Proud to be here with you, Ben.
Awesome. Well, Marcus, thank you. And again, my name is Ben Gabriel, despite what I may have said a minute ago. Welcome to our webinar. We're talking about evaluating your client list. So, Marcus, I'm going to do some introductory logistics here as we go. Just to kick us off, session's good for 1 hour of CP, everybody. Most of you in the room are going to know the drill. We'll do 4 polling questions. You do have to answer 3 of those. So, please do that as they come up. Amy McCarty and Rachel Dillon and Christine Nitsky are in the background helping with questions. I believe Amy may also she'll be sharing a couple of files during the session here. One is a PDF handout of the slide presentation. The second is a grading your client's quick reference document. And we'll be talking a lot about those pieces of that document during this webinar. So watch out for those handouts in the chat panel. You can ask questions through the chat in Zoom. You can also ask them through the Q&A. And when you close out of the webinar, you'll have a survey pop up on your screen here. So, Marcus, I'm just going to keep us moving so we have lots of time to get to all of the good information here. But learning objectives for today, everybody, we've got 3. And we're going to talk through each of them, but identify data needed to help evaluate your client relationships. Number 2, how to categorize or grade current clients. And then what options might you have for clients that just might not be a great fit for your firm, and just sort of talk through that process as well. So here's our agenda. The beginning slide talked about helping solve capacity challenges in the firm. And we've got a good graphic for that. But we'll talk about capacity warning signs in the firm. Then we're looking at preparing to evaluate your client list. Then we'll talk about grading clients. And then we'll talk about what you can do at the end. So, Marcus, does that make sense to you?
It seems like a great hour of conversation, Ben, and it makes a lot of sense.
Okay, well, good. Let's keep the momentum going, Marcus. And I've got capacity warning signs up on the screen here, and we've got 5 that we're sharing.
Yeah.
Do you want to maybe briefly hit each of these?
Yeah, man. And all of these, they look familiar to me, and maybe to other firm owners, they look familiar as well. So everything we do, we can kind of equate it to capacity, right? Like how much do you want to work? How many hours are in the day, and how do you fill that time? If you're outside of that ideal time that you want to spend serving others and working in your firm, then you're outside of your capacity. Is kind of how to think through it, and then you also apply that to your whole team and your whole firm. Some of the things that we look at as far as like guardrails or outside of the boundary, so to speak, that are warning signs are those 40-hour work weeks, which we've mostly committed and our team has committed to mostly 40-hour work weeks, just given our profession. That's what we feel comfortable with. If you're exceeding that time and time again, and regardless of time of year, I'll give people a pass on working extra leading up to a deadline or during the heat of a project. But if you're consistently over that 40, and it's just not going to be a great long-term solution. So the other piece is saying that you want to grow, that you want to have new clients and have new relationships, but you have no meeting availability. And Rachel, who's in the background, she takes a lot of our prospect calls. So what she hears from prospects is, hey, I would love to call you back after November 1st. I can't talk or pick up this return to even review it until after a certain time. November 1st just recently came up last week. So I would say as you're evaluating like your current firm, your current workload, and you want to improve and accept newer, better clients, if you're telling people you don't have time to even take a phone call, then that is a warning sign for capacity. The other one that hits home as we care for others as far as internally, and that's team members quitting and giving feedback of this just isn't what I signed on to do or what I originally thought was the goal in my coming to work here, and they leave the profession. We've seen that a lot as well. So team members quitting, stale technology, you're too busy doing the work to even look at what new options exist. And right now in the time of AI and improvement in our technologies, like that's a very real thing. If you're working on the same tech stack that you did 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago, maybe it's part of a bigger problem where you just don't have the capacity to evaluate that. And then that last piece is training. So, really encouraging yourself, encouraging your team to learn new things, new technologies, ways to serve others, and you don't have time for that. So, all of those can be warning signs. Those are things that we look at in DBA. I would take it a step further if you're agreeing that those could be warning signs in your firm, then what are the checkpoints or the ways to identify once that's been exceeded. An easy one for us would be the time. If you're tracking time and then you're consistently looking back and people are working 50, 60, 70 hours, then that warning sign needs to be paid attention to.
All right, Marcus. Yeah, so uh, overtime or extra overtime, if I could say it that way, not having time to meet with a new prospect or new client, or maybe a client or prospect, or no time in the immediate future, for example, team members leaving the firm, stale technology, and lacking in team or professional development. Five big capacity warning signs right there. So as we go forward from here, we're kind of saying, okay, we may be seeing or feeling or experiencing some of those things. How can we take where we may be there and begin to address that and work on it? So I think I think there's a really powerful slide right here in this simple message. But can you explain this?
Yeah, so it all comes down to the people that we serve typically in that capacity. And so when we talk about our CPA firms, it's that client list evaluation. And as your capacity decreases, right? It's that you know toy that's on the playground, the seesaw, right?
Teeter totter, seesaw.
Teeter totter seesaw.
Yeah.
Okay. So as the capacity goes down, your client list evaluation, the priority of reviewing that needs to go up. And we've built in certain checkpoints throughout the year to review that. We're entering into the finish of extension season. So a lot of people are coming off summer, coming off improvement season, as we would like to call it, wrapping up the 2024 filing season. And then after, maybe this is a priority for them to evaluate that. So take note of your capacity concerns. If you did notice some of those warning signs, then the priority to evaluate your client list needs to go higher. So all that to say, would highly recommend, taking the next steps that we'll go through here in a bit and evaluating client list as just a recurring option in your firm, regardless of capacity.
Okay. All right. So let's do polling question number one, Marcus, and I'll go ahead and take care of that here. So I'm going to put the first poll up on the screen. Um, the last time our firm's client list was evaluated was it sometime earlier this year in 2025? Was it last year sometime? Was it 2023 or prior? I don't know, or we have never evaluated the client list, and I'll leave this up for us a little bit longer.
Yeah. And for us, we really, all those warning signs on our, firm dashboard, if you will, started to like blink and yell at us in 2016, 2017. So that's whenever we at DBA started to really do the hard work of evaluating client relationships, evaluating client list, but we do it every year.
So everyone's voted, Marcus, and it looks like, let's call it pretty much half the room has done it, since 2024, and then the other half the room going back 2023 or prior, or maybe not sure or hasn't or haven't done it. Okay, let's close out of this first poll, everybody, and move on. So, Marcus, they're all good slides, but certainly there's a lot going on here as we say, okay, I'm with you so far. Let's take a look at our client list. There's certainly some preparation involved to make sure that you've got that data in front of you. So can you talk us through these, call it 6 different steps that we've outlined?
Yeah. And yeah, for sure, Ben. And what I would say, like we've tried to make it real practical. We've tried to start with what DBA has done over our, ownership period to say this is what we do. The other item that I would add before getting into each of these steps is you can invite others on your team who may have more availability into this process. So, the first place to start is really where is all of this data? Is all of this data in a tax program? Is it in your firm QuickBooks file? Is it in your practice management? What's going to be the easiest place to start? And knowing that we want to pull, client relationships, maybe by family, revenue, all that good stuff. If there's a place where some of that exists, um, and it makes sense to start there, that's what we would highly recommend. So practically, you need to get that information into a spreadsheet. And so whether those 3 different options we talked about, tax program, accounting software, or practice management, all 3 of those should allow you to export those lists. That first point, which we have found important over our evaluations, is grouping clients by family. And family could be whatever you want it to be. Sometimes for us at DBA, it's a larger business or a family of investments that's owned by a group of folks, and then all the returns, all the work that goes and is attached to them. You could also consider a family, maybe a referral source. Maybe you have a really good relationship with a financial advisor or an attorney, and you just want to kind of group those clients that way. So whatever that looks like for you, I would identify who all is connected first and start there. And then that way, as you begin to work down your list, you start to see where the big relationships are and those groupings. So that's step 1. Step 2 is rolling 12 months of revenue by client. And we say rolling 12 because if you just look back calendar year over calendar year, that's really not an appropriate and timely consideration of the current client relationship. So if we're sitting almost at the end of August, which September is next week. Happy Labor Day, everybody, right? But I think it would be a misstep to just go back to 2024 and look at that. So that's why we want to bring that data a little bit more current. So use trailing 12 months or rolling 12 by those clients, and then those client groupings will give you a total per group, obviously. So the other thing that we've looked at over time is breaking it out, putting another column in by industry. We know a lot of folks want to niche. A lot of folks have already niched. So that also is useful if you serve a lot of professional service, and maybe you serve a lot of dental clients. Then the non-dental clients will start to stand out, and maybe those are the ones that are a really easy win to exit from the firm or refer on to another CPA friend. So industry is important. And then finally, we get into that next section. So I think just those first 3, Ben, are really important just to evaluate. And as we go through 4, 5, and 6, you're fine tuning what you've already built. So I would say when we talk about inviting others into this process, maybe you're the one that has to extract the data into Excel, but you've got an admin or a team member who can help build out some of this additional data, take a pass at it as you continue to work on tax returns or financials or whatever's on your daily dashboard. But then that next fourth one is the current service offerings. And so as DBA continued to shift from a brick and mortar, very legacy, traditional tax only firm, we would identify, hey, these are tax only once a year clients. So that was a column for us versus CAS or monthly accounting, payroll, whatever other services that we were looking to grow. So as we were evaluating client capacity, we obviously wanted more CAS clients. We wanted more advisory relationships. So if we were looking at, hey, which ones don't make sense in our client list, then some of those tax only were the ones that stood out at that time. So, current team servicing the client is another very big step as you continue to go down this path. And that's where you start to evaluate, okay, if in our example, let's say Molly is on every single one of those clients, then Molly's capacity is really questioned at that point. So I think those are the things that you start to look at as you look at balance across the team. And then finally, the last step, which is one of the most important steps, is asking your team for feedback. So I would say after you've kind of put all this together, maybe you've invited others in throughout this process. The final one is actually, talking through this with your team. And we'll give some practical examples of how to do that here in a bit. But that is the most important part in all of this because we are called to care, DBA is called to care for team first, client second. I don't think there's any clients on this call, and I don't think that any clients would be surprised by that. But if we take care of our team, then our team will take care of our clients. So yeah, if a team member is having a real hard time with the client, then we want to know that. We want that to factor in to our evaluation.
All right, Marcus. So yeah, I think things are kind of chunked out here in two different groups here, and we will talk a little bit about, like a team, like a spreadsheet to keep track of things that the team could use. But if we go back to the beginning, um, clients group by family, rolling 12 revenue, building out this spreadsheet at DBA. Where are you starting in terms of where are you getting some of this data?
Yeah, we've always invoiced out of QBO, which that was the place where we started. I know a lot of firms aren't that way. They may invoice out of practice management or do something else. So I would say if you don't use QBO in the same manner DBA did, I would start with either practice management or your tax software just to kind of be able to start grouping. Um, Even in QBO, we set up the family groups so we can start to track a family group. Let's say, Smith Investments or the Smith family. And then under the Smith family, we have all of their tax return projects. Maybe they do have some monthly accounting, things like that, because we don't want to forget about the larger relationship and just look at $1,000 a year tax return and then make a bad decision on exiting. Hey, this $1,000 tax return needs to go um, instead of it being a part of the whole relationship. And I will also say, like, it's gotten harder over time as we've grown and scaled and add more team members onto the team for me as an owner to remember every client relationship that exists. And where Rachel, she'll have conversations with people who are referred over. Maybe it's a family member of Dr. Smith in this example. But maybe they have a different last name. And the only person that knows that connection is maybe Rachel and the team that serves them, and it's not me. So that's the other reason why you want to invite others into this process. Funny story. Whenever we start, well, maybe not so funny, but you can learn from my mistake. Whenever we started to block and grade and exit clients early on, I actually exited like a sister-in-law of a very good client, right? And so that was an awkward conversation that I had to have with our good ideal client. Hey, did you exited my sister-in-law or referred her on last year? Or am I going to expect the same thing this year? So, in order to avoid that conversation and retain the higher client relationship, we would have likely just continued to accept the sister-in-law because she was tied to a larger client relationship. So those are some of the things to evaluate. The term that I don't really love is orphan 1040, but that's floating out there in the industry. So a lot of those orphan 1040s are the ones that need to find new homes. And so that's where the industry kind of is. So it's identifying who those standalone once a year projects are.
All right, Marcus. So, DBA starting in QBO, that's where you've built out of, but folks may be coming out of their practice management system to at least export that client list, get some of that key information out there, and then we're starting to fill in important details, industry, service offerings, team members servicing the client, and then certainly capturing feedback from team members. So that's where we are, everybody. So this is just a screenshot of a spreadsheet here, and certainly you can make your own. And in the grading clients quick reference guide, I believe Amy shared that in the chat. I think the term we use is extra grace required here, but just this is a spreadsheet where anyone could probably fill it in. But if there's a concern or something that happens, we can at least track this here. Does that make sense, Marcus?
No, it does. And everyone knows what the acronym PETA means. EGR is another one, extra grace required for some of those relationships if you want to use that acronym instead. But yeah, this is a good thing to have accessible to your team throughout the year. And so our tax admin, Deidre, she has access to this list. So she knows who's difficult to work with as far as maybe uploading documents. They can't work technology. They don't know how to sign their 8879, and it's always an issue, which just requires more time and doesn't allow her to serve other clients, right? So I think those are the things that you want others input on. But in our case, it's not just Deidre, it's the client CFO all the way down CSM across the organization. We want people to weigh in on, hey, this client, I don't think they're being truthful to me in their responses on the AMA. So we just want to know that because it's a part of the evaluation and whether or not we're the best fit for them going forward.
All right. All right. All right, Marcus. And if you haven't looked in the chat in a minute, maybe you joined a minute or two after we started, everybody, Amy shared the quick reference guide again as a PDF, so you can pull that down. Lots of good information on there, but it does reference the extra grace required acronym, the EGR acronym too. So, okay, Marcus. So you've gone through the process, you maybe some help with the team, obviously gotten together and built out the client list with as much or all of that core information in there that you have or that you have access to. And
Yeah.
maybe you've added some other things potentially on your side, but let's say a lot of the preparation is there. Let's talk a little bit about just the process that you might go through.
Yeah, yeah. So for us, since we exported out of QBO, the revenue's there, right? So it's really easy for us to start this process whenever we get into it. So look at the revenue by client family. If you haven't done this in your practice in a while, you may be amazed. We evaluate practices, as part of our growth strategy, and it comes down to so many times businesses have an 80-20 rule, Pareto principle, where 80% of your revenue actually comes from 20% of your clients. And that holds true at DBA over the life of DBA. That also holds true to a lot of other firms, a lot of other businesses. So it also should just kind of refocus on where your time, if you do have time, should be spent. It should be nurturing those 20% of your relationships that spend the most amount of money with you. The opposite of that is the 80% that only spends 20% of your revenue. Then they could absorb a lot more of your time, right? And so you want to know that whenever you go into these evaluations. And so it's always helpful to review it by client family and start there as far as a descending order. So start with the highest client relationships first, and then go in a descending order is what I would recommend. The second step is just those outliers in industry. So we don't do a ton of nonprofit work. I can count on one hand how many nonprofit clients we have. And that would be something that would be an easy evaluation for DBA if we wanted to exit those relationships. We would probably first determine if they are connected to one of our larger family groups. If we wanted to have that conversation, maybe one of our best clients, that's his foundation, or he sits on that board, and that's why it's come in our door, most likely. But it would be a determining factor, and especially as we know with nonprofit and 990s, that's a whole separate kind of accounting and a whole separate kind of mentality when it comes to tax. So that would be an easy one for me to kind of point out and say, hey, if you're serving a random 990, are you the best fit for that? Because there are people out there that truly specialize in that line of work. And then that third piece, Ben, is the type of work that you may be doing now may not be the type of work that you want to do. And we've all heard over all the years, right? You need more advisory, ChatGPT, and all the bots are coming for the production type of work that you might have done. So if you're looking at just some preparation, some production, and wanting to move more toward advisory, it's really a good time to evaluate, okay, how can we rebalance this workload as we want to get more into advisory? Because if you want to get into advisory, you will need capacity to have those advisory conversations.
You're looking to build capacity, Marcus, for more of the types of clients that your firm wants to serve now and in the future.
Correct. Yeah. And it does come with emotion, right? There are people behind all of these, and we don't want to discount that. And, these clients were really impactful. Speaking for us, like they were there for a season of DBA, and they, provided revenue and relationship and all of that. So you have to do this with care if you are looking at exiting those or just evaluating. No one likes to be graded or seen as just a number on a spreadsheet. So that's like the whole other side, the emotional side, which we may not get into today. But I would say, start with the people, and the relationships are also what matter in our businesses, right? So I would say continue to go about it from a data first perspective, but then whenever you get into the later steps, that's whenever emotion could cloud some of your decisions that are based on data. And as accountants, we typically find more comfort in the data. So it's easy to point back to the data if you've put it all together in this manner and say, no, I really need to make this decision, and here is why. And maybe that's what you tell yourself to pump yourself up before that phone call. But yeah, I would say start with the data, continue to think about where you want to be as a professional and where you want your business to be, not where you've been, not where your business has been in the past.
Got it. Okay, I'm gonna take us through. We'll do our second poll, everybody. We're about halfway through our session. We've talked about capacity challenges at the beginning, if have experienced those or are feeling some of those. Then we've talked about preparing for going through an evaluation, and that's really where we are in our session right now. So let me get that second polling question up here. So here's polling question number two. And the question is, we have the following number of industries we work with, question mark. So how many industries, and maybe you're approximating, right? But do you work with less than five industries, client business types overall? Do you work with about between 5 and 10, more than 10? Or you could say, I don't know, or I will be checking the number of industries after this webinar. Maybe that will be part of your evaluation process or preparation process. So folks are voting right now, Marcus.
Yeah, and I would say this isn't a bad thing. I mean, it truly just does assess where you are today. And if you're looking to improve and narrow your focus from 20 industries down to 10, then great. Like, but you have to know where you start. You have to, January 1st, if you're in a challenge to lose weight, you got to step on the scale, which is a scary thing, and that's your starting point. So it's no different with this.
All right, let's close this poll up and here are the results. So, okay, so you can see a few out there less than five, some between five and tens, and then about half the group more than 10. Okay, that was polling question number two. Let's close that back down. And then, okay, Marcus, so let's go into now grading. And this is where we want to use data to help us best evaluate. You talked about the data side of it, you talked about the emotional side of it, both of those things can be there obviously. But so let's talk a little bit about using grading clients, using A, B, C, and D, and we've got some bullets up here to help us with this. So let's start with those A clients. What do they look like for the firm?
Yeah, they were as you can see, the right price, the right service is good to work with. So they were the ones that were taking our advice. So that means a lot. You could have people that are in the right industry, they pay you the right amount of money, but if they're not taking your advice, if there's really not a reason for them to pay you the amount that you want to be paid, that was a factor that always came back to really bite us because we could be replaced by anybody at any given time. So those A clients truly stand out as your ideal client. And whenever you think about a firm avatar of your ideal client, those are the people that are they jump out at you. So I'm sure that everybody that's on this call knows who their favorite client is. And hopefully the reason why they're your favorite client is because they are at the right price, the right services, and they are good to work with. So I would say that's who we want to build around. That's who we want more of. Everybody wants A's on their report card, right? So that's who we need to go get more of and who we need to spend our time with when it comes to capacity. So taking that a step to the right, B's are right price and good to work with, but they're just the wrong service. And so we've seen this over the life cycles of DBA. Like we'll have clients that have either been acquired or come in the door somehow to DBA, and you want to continue serving them. You want to offer up the services that you're continuing to move to. But at the end of the day, like you are providing a good advisory service or a good relationship, and you feel compensated fairly for that. And, I would also say that Bs hopefully can be served by your team, not necessarily have a lot of owner impact, because that way you're able to focus on the A's or running the business. So C's, wrong price, wrong service, good to work with. And these are the ones that they may have been good at another time in the business. And here's where you get into like that emotion. They came in, you were accepting 1040 clients at the time, they were a great 1040. Your business grew and expanded, but to their like situation, they're the same. And so this is where maybe a hard decision needs to be made as you're going back to who you once were and serving people in the same manner or serving those type of clients who are now C clients. You're not doing yourself, you're not doing your A clients or your B clients a quality service because you keep going back to who was ideal. So wrong price, wrong service, easy, 2 out of 3 don't fit. Those we're going to kind of hold off to the side. And then D, these are just not good to work with. They're rude, they're difficult with your team, they don't take your advice, they just don't appreciate who you are. And I don't know about you, Ben, but I don't want to spend my time, I don't want to fill my capacity with people who aren't good to work with.
Yeah, and that's a hard one to argue with right there. If you get that phone call and you just don't really want to take that phone call, that may be an example right there of you're like, that's just not a good client for us. It's not a good client for us to work with. Maybe the relationship's not good for us. Maybe the relationship's not good for them, Marcus.
Yeah. And to a practical point, some of y'all, just like you were able to easily close your eyes and identify who your A clients are, you can easily close your eyes and identify who your D clients are if you're being honest with yourself. Who do you cringe at whenever their email comes in or their phone call comes in? Who is that client? Those are some of the ones that are on the extra grace required or the PETA list. Um, They may push you right up until the deadline. They may come in right before a tax deadline if you do tax work for them. But these are the ones that stick out. So I would say, regardless of the revenue, um, the D clients are the ones that need to go. Now, if your firm is full of D clients, we need to work on that. But overall, you're probably going to be much better if these D clients are no longer around.
Okay, so A, B, C, D, doing our best to keep that simple there. A clients on the left, they're priced right. They're getting the right services that you want to provide to them, that the firm is best at. And then as the firm is looking ahead, those are the right services that we want to keep providing more of in the future, and they're good to work with.
Yeah, for sure, Ben.
That takes us over, through there, Marcus, where, hey, price may be right, but we're just not working with them. We're not providing them what we want to provide to them or in the way that we want to provide it to them. C clients, may have been good to work with or, maybe fit a different season in the firm's life, Marcus, as you said, but they're at the wrong price right now, not priced right. And we may not be providing the services to them that we want to be doing now or in the future. And then we're over on the end. Anything else you want to say grading wise here in terms of arriving at the grades that the firm may arrive at?
Yeah, I would say there's ways to even check yourself, like put a point or grading system in place to where this isn't all an emotional A, B, C, or D choice of a firm owner. Obviously, we talked about those six metrics that we're going to build upon, right? The client grouping, the industry, the service. We've seen people that actually put value to that, and then they actually grade their clients based on value to come up to a score, so to speak. Right now, this is pretty much building off of the six. You're taking that data, inviting other people into it, and then assigning that grade. So, regardless if you have those point systems that add up to a grade to kind of make it a calculation, I would always recommend that you have other people in your circle, not just yourself, to make sure that you are assigning the right grade to the client. Because we all lie to ourselves. We're the easiest people that we can lie to, the folks in the mirror, right? So if you have a D client that really all you see is the dollars that they bring in, not all the hard work that they take, then invite others into that to keep you honest.
Okay, let's do our third polling question, everybody. So get ready for polling question number 3. So, number 3, what grade do you think you'd assign to the largest percentage of your clients? A, B, C, or D? What grade do you think you'd assign to the largest chunk of your clients?
And this one will be interesting, Ben, because like speaking for even DBA, I want to say that D's are hopefully low. Hopefully we don't have many of those, if any. C's, we're going to have some because we're always evolving, we're always growing, we're always changing. B's and A's, those are also going to be kind of what we talk about here in the next few slides. But I would just want more A's and B's than C's and D's.
Okay, I'll leave the poll up for another 5 seconds. If you haven't voted in poll number 3, please do so. Dive across that desk. Hopefully you hit the right option. Okay, gonna close the poll up. And Marcus, here are the results, sort of, as you suspected.
Yeah, no, this is great. This is going to tee up the next conversation really well. So, not a surprise at all that those bees are where we're at because everybody probably could use a little bit of improvement. But yeah, that's great, Ben.
Okay, close that poll up here. Okay, so Marcus, if you think back to the agenda, this is the now what part of the agenda, right? So we've gone through the process of evaluating, we've graded clients, we've gone through that process. We have our list. Now what? So, and we put just down at the bottom as a little bit of a reminder, the prices, the right price, right service, right price, wrong service, etc. So you could just see. So we've got our A's, B's, and C's, Marcus. What are some strategies or things you may need to do or want to do or do as a result of going through the evaluation process?
No, I love it, man. So what we've kind of started with today, as you mentioned, was like getting the data together and bringing the team into it, building that list. We graded folks. That now what slide was important because that's actually where a lot of people stop. And we've seen it time and time again in firms. They do all of this work and then they stop. They don't have the hard conversation with the client. They don't do anything. And that actually weighs on you as an owner. It also weighs on your team. We've heard that from other team members within the industry that one of the deciding factors on whether or not they stayed on the team was the owner never did anything with the information that they were given. So the owner knew that they needed to improve and make a decision. The team knew they needed to improve and make a decision, but nothing ever happened. No improvement was ever had. So those team members had to make the hard choice and find a new team. So all the people that are listening today, hopefully that is not you, or maybe that's you, and we can learn from that in the past. So I would say winners like to win, great team members like to move forward and improve. So if you have your A clients and you know who those are that avatar, that ideal client profile or persona, however you want to think about it. Really, you want to nurture that relationship. You want to pay attention to it because the other worst the worst thing that you could do is avoid that client and just put them on autopilot. A does not stand for autopilot. It is really, who you want to nurture and care for. The only thing, after making sure that they are good and that the service is aligned, that you've got a good price and they're great to work with, is evaluating price increase. And so we're in a season, we've got a new tax law that we're all trying to learn and incorporate and advise on with clients. It's an opportunity to evaluate price. And so if you feel that an appropriate price increase is necessary for the future, this is kind of an option to do that. And we've polled collective members. We'll probably do that closer when we get to gather here in October. But what we're seeing from collective members is probably a 15 to 20% price increase for tax and bookkeeping, accounting. So you have to evaluate that for yourself if that's appropriate or you feel you're already at market or north of market. But for a lot of folks, they're thinking that 15% is kind of where they're going to be. So price increase on every one of these, right? I think if you're reading ahead, A, B, and C all have that price increase. The A clients, the ones that matter, maybe you evaluate a different price increase. Maybe you don't want to push it. Maybe you only want to do 5%. But I would highly recommend not letting a year go by where you don't do some type of bump because, holding my hand up as the guilty person, we've done that. And it's been harder to raise a second year or to come up to where they really needed to be because we didn't want to have that conversation. So A's really the thing there, Ben, is to nurture those and have price increases. The third thing that you can do with A's is ask for referrals. So how do you say, love who you are, love working with you, need more of you, how can we clone you? Is asking them for referrals. So the way that you do that is you go to where they hang out. And maybe they're in a group or an association that you can go to with them. So we've done that a few times with our doctor and dental friends. We'll actually say, hey, I'll go with you to this CPE event. And then if you go to that CPE event with your dental or doctor friend, you're on the arm of your ideal client, and there's a room full of ideal clients. So we've done that a few times. It's been successful. It's just, it's a slower process. You want to build trust before you're really like flipping business cards or LinkedIn profiles around the room. But yeah, that's an option to have referrals. I think we had a question come in, Ben, on price increases.
Yeah, yeah, let me I just saw it, Marcus. So what's the best way to communicate or justify the price increase to the client? Is what the question is, other than sending a new engagement letter without a conversation, sort of.
Yeah, I think transparency and communication are always key. I would say making it a part of your culture, so clients expect it, whether it's once a year or multiple times per year if you're going through a lot of change as an industry, which we are. Um, I would say never make it about yourself. Never make it about the team that you have. I have to increase your price because I need to pay this person more. My software costs more. Always make it about your service. Always make it about the value you bring and equate it to the market. Um, the tax law is a great reason to increase price and the education that you're providing to your client, the value that you're providing, because at the end of the day, everything's got a market rate. Everything's has a economics coming into play as far as like what the market will bear as far as pricing for services. And we may see in certain parts of our businesses that technology and all the fun stuff that's really rapidly advancing may compress prices for things like data entry and bookkeeping and reconciling bank accounts. There are now agents built into our software that we all use that pretty much do that for us. It's not perfect. We still need to review it, but people paying us for that function will likely go away or go down. So all that to say, like as you increase price, use tools like ChatGPT to help you word that language. Like, what is the best way to approach this conversation? And hopefully, it'll give you some tips as well. But word of advice: never make it about yourself. Always make it about serving the client better.
Um, got it, Marcus. Okay, we've got about 13 minutes left or so. So are we on to the bees now?
We're on to the bees, man. So the bees they're great folks. They're paying you well. What you could do there is evaluate, okay, I need to offer them the ideal services that we are going to provide moving forward. So for us, this could be a tax only client that we make really good margin on, but aren't really investing in the team and an ongoing relationship. And so if we look down the road 5 years from now, and technology is going to uh, not fully replace us, but minimize our role in the tax preparation process, then we want to move more towards advice. And like that's what everyone's been teaching for decades now, right? So as we look at this, we want clients that want to have that advisory conversation, want our opinion on the financial decisions that they're working through. So offer a recurring service, kind of our model. We offer it up twice. And then the second time they tell us no, we don't want to go back a third time. It's just awkward. So we don't want to build animosity. So that then we actually look at, okay, are they actually a C client? Because maybe price has kind of shifted, services are still wrong. But if they've told us no once, maybe twice, you just don't want it to let it grow awkward and animosity to build in that relationship. It's never fun. So that's whenever you look at exiting them or monetizing them, referring them to another CPA that's their ideal client. So your B's may be somebody else's A's, your C's may be somebody else's A's. So that's what's great about our industry, and everybody's got just a little bit different of a practice, and we see that even in collective, where you've got folks that are just in different stages and they're looking to really be the best steward of the resources they've been given, including those relationships. So they want to pass those relationships on to where those people are being served best. So those B's exit monetize, and you'll see like whenever we come over to the C clients, those C clients have the same first three. What I would say on the B's, the final thing I would say, B's are where your opportunity lies as far as harvesting opportunities within your own client list to upsell, cross sell, different services. B's are a great place to do that. So I see B's as opportunity. I see A's as stability and what you want to strive to do for your whole client list. But B's have a lot of opportunity. C's, there may be some opportunity there. They're not going to be as likely as in the B side. So that one you can actually experiment with pricing. You can be a little bit more aggressive, like your C's. They're already on the two out of three, so maybe you don't care if they come back. The one thing I would say is you can't price a client to an A. You can't say I'm going to price out all my clients until they are A clients. We've tried that. It did not work. People just became crazier and expected more from our team. And so if you take someone from $1,000 a year to a $10,000 a year, they're going to expect $10,000 a year service. And they're going to make it known that they expect that $10,000 a year service. So learn from our mistakes. Don't necessarily just price increase all the way up to A's. We've seen that advice out there. It didn't work for us. Maybe it'll work for you. Who knows? So, but those are the B's and the C's. So price increase across the board, and then BCs offer recurring, get them into a better service package. If not, you can refer them on. You can refer them out completely, or you can refer them on to another CPA. Maybe there's some options to kind of have a referral agreement or monetize in some manner, because, like we said, those B's and C's may be somebody else's A's.
All right, Marcus. So we've hit we've hit the A's, the B's, and the C's. So we've got about 10 minutes or so.
Yeah.
So we're on to the D's, and we're just saying exit or monetize here. And I'll bring up the next slide in a second here. But do you want to set the stage here in terms of exiting strategies before we get to those?
Yeah, so D, not for diploma, it stands for door. So the D's need to go. They weigh on you, they weigh on your team. They are not ideal in any of those three areas, right? Price, service, or good to work with. And for us, we may not even monetize those because we don't want our friend down the road who we want to help to all of a sudden now be serving D clients unless they really like D clients. And you just kind of have to know that they do. So exit those and don't lose sleep about it. You don't have to do them all at once. You can do them over time. Obviously, kind of take the fighter approach. Go after the biggest blaze first, right? It's one of those where if you've got somebody in your client list that could really uh, create havoc within your team where maybe a team member leaves and it filters to other aspects of your business, other clients, then you need to go address that pain point first.
Okay, so I'll go ahead and just bring everything up on the screen at once here so we have it up here. So let's talk about exiting strategies then, Marcus. What are the considerations? What are the considerations there?
Yeah, and I would say exiting strategies is happening regardless of if you're getting a referral fee or monetizing at all. If you are getting a referral fee or monetizing, there's ways to do that. As we mentioned, you don't have to do it all at once. Creating just a little bit of capacity is great. If you create too much, you could get nervous. We equate it to giving blood, you could die. There's a reason why you don't give all your blood in a setting, so just one bag at a time, right, Ben? So
That's a
uh,
good analogy, Marcus.
yeah.
Yeah, good analogy. Don't give it
Um, don't give all your blood. So the same can be said of clients and revenue. So just address the ones that really make sense based on the steps that we've gone through today, the input from your team. If you are looking to monetize and there's a nice client block that you've put together and they do make sense and they are of value, securing a buyer referral, use your current list of contacts who you already done life and surrounded yourself with. Maybe you have a friend who's starting a practice. It just gives them revenue, gives them lifeblood to maybe start practice the right way, build a team, hire people, have some overhead budget. So we've done that in the past. It's been great for those firms that are looking to grow in that way and not rely solely on organic growth and go into BNI and chamber meetings and all that fun stuff. There's a few different ways that you can structure that financial agreement and make it real easy for them. If you have questions about that, we're happy to talk about that further as well. Just message us, and Rachel, myself, or Ben can kind of give you some very well thought out case studies that we've seen. Notifying clients is the other piece in all of this. So we want to give clients an appropriate amount of time so they feel that they have um, the ability to make a decision on whether or not they continue with the referral that you've given them, or if they need to go out to market and find a new provider. The way that we've handled that handoff is giving them at least one name, maybe two. And the great thing is, hey, how do I know when they come back and say, how do I know that this is the right person for me? You can point them out, hey, go call, go see. And then when they come back and say, well, nobody's accepting new clients, nobody will talk to me until after November 1st. It's like, yeah, see, we've lined up this person to serve you. Give them a year, give them 2 years. Hopefully you'll click. But we've done the hard work and seen that they have capacity and that they do want to serve you in the way that you've been served. So notifying clients in a manner where it's celebrating that relationship, downplaying that you're moving on, and that you want to serve them better by serving them outside of your firm. Timing on that, it always works best to do that in Q4, and not December 31st. So be cognizant of time there. We see that happening a lot in October timeline. Right after tax season is a real good time to do that. Going into November, if you get into December and you're starting to send these letters, it may feel a little bit uneasy for that client, because their year's coming to a close. Maybe they needed some advice, and now all of a sudden they are forced to enter into a new relationship. So, but exiting clients is no different than monetizing those clients. If you have a service line, so we talked about nonprofits. If you have a service line, DBA had audit, review, attest functions at one point. It was around 3 or 4% of our top line revenue. We only did a handful there at the end. And you think about everything that goes into a test and peer review and all that fun stuff and what it impacts on your insurance, just the risk involved. So it was a real easy decision to exit that service line. And I would encourage you, if you have a service line that you're not looking to grow, and it's below 10%, then maybe that's what you exit. And if you're exiting a whole service line like audit, review, attest, there are buyers out there for that, because it's like a little mini business, right? Similar to a client block. But those are some strategies. We've seen success in those. We've had some that are better than others, and we've done it almost 10 times now, Ben, where we've helped other CPA firms grow and provide them some clients to start off the right way.
Awesome, Marcus. So I think we covered a lot of ground here. Just starting at the beginning with feeling some of those capacity challenges, probably as a firm or as a firm owner looking ahead to the types of services that you want to provide in the future, the types of clients that your firm is best at serving and the way the team is best at serving them. And we've graded our clients absolutely with that as a huge backdrop there. And then we've talked about, okay, if we're going to go through the exercise of doing that, what do we do now? What can we do with that information from looking at a price increase? And you mentioned the new tax laws and changes this year, um, different services for clients, having some of those conversations. But the goal is certainly to get, to get up B's to A's, C's to B's, C's to A's. We're looking to just improve, how we're working with our clients and the clients that we're serving. So
Yeah.
does that make sense?
Makes complete sense. The final thing I would say on it, if you are looking to partner with somebody on exiting these clients that no longer fit, or these services that no longer fit, if you're a part of a group like Collective, that's a great place to start to see where folks are looking to grow. Maybe there's some opportunity there in your local market. You can also search out your peers, competitors, however you want to think about them. If you say nobody in my market is accepting clients, just Google CPA near me, wherever you sit, see who's paying for ads, see who's paying for marketing and pay per click, because those people are putting budget to new client acquisition costs. So that's something to always pay attention to, is there may be a buyer that you have no idea actually exists. So just some really practical tips, Ben, on how folks can actually exit with care. If it comes down to you can exit and monetize, that's great. That's financial incentive to actually do it and follow through with it. But if you can't monetize, I would still highly recommend that you exit the client relationships that are weighing on you, weighing on your team. And those are those C and D clients that we already hit on.
Got it, Marcus. Okay, let me put our fourth and final polling question up here, everybody. Have you sold a block of clients before? This is our fourth and final polling question. Folks are voting now, and we're right at our time here, Marcus. We just have a couple last things that I'll close with, but covered a lot of good ground here. So fourth and final polling question. If you haven't voted yet, dive across your desk and you only have, there's only two options obviously here. So yes or no. Okay, I'm gonna end the poll up, everybody, and here's the results. So most of the room, certainly the lion's share of the room, answering no, and we have a yes out there. Okay, so I'm gonna stop sharing. And then Marcus, you were talking a little bit about being a part of our group, but here's next steps, prepare your client list for evaluation. We've shared the grading clients quick reference guide through the chat panel, in addition to a PDF of the slides, but that quick reference is a great one-page guide that does a great job of summarizing a lot of what we've talked about today. So use that quick reference guide. Don't navigate things alone. If you're not part of our group, we'd love to talk to you. You can scan that QR code right now, or it'll be in a PDF of the slides. That's going to take you to the Collective website, collective.cpa, to check that out. And then some of you may be coming already, but our Gather conference is the third week in October. It's in the Dallas Grapevine area at the Hotel Vin. You can find more information and registration on that on our website, just collective.cpa/events. You'll see the events link at the top there. It's easy to find information on Gather. So we have a few open seats there. So if you're not registered and you'd like to register, or you are planning to register, don't wait to sign up. We'd love to see you. So, Marcus, I think we're at our time. Any final thoughts?
No, man. I would just encourage people to go throughout this exercise, bring your team into it, have others to hold you accountable, and then you can choose what to do with that excess capacity. Maybe take a day off, maybe accept a new client. We'll leave that up to you.
All right. Well, thanks so much, everyone, for being with us. We really appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday and the rest of the week. Marcus, thank you. Rachel, Amy, Christine, thank you as well. And we'll catch up with everybody soon. So, bye now.
Thanks, Ben.
You got it.